In the quiet heart of the countryside, where rolling fields stretch as far as the eye can see, and the only sounds are the chirping of crickets at dusk, there lived a young man by the name of Thomas. He was known by his neighbors as an old country bumpkin, though, in truth, he was neither old nor foolish, but simply a farm boy whose life had always been rooted in the soil beneath his feet. His hands, rough and calloused, bore the story of countless seasons spent tending to crops, mending fences, and guiding plows behind sturdy oxen. Thomas's world was small, his ambitions humble. Each day began before dawn with the crowing of the rooster and ended long after the last rays of sunlight faded behind the hills. He knew little of the world beyond his village, and even less of its dangers or its wonders. His dreams, if he had any, were simple ones: a good harvest, a warm hearth, and the laughter of family gathered around a table at supper. The tales of knights and heroes that sometimes drifted into the village from wandering minstrels seemed as distant as the stars. But fate, as it often does, had other plans for Thomas. One fateful evening, as the sky was painted with streaks of purple and gold, a troop of soldiers thundered through the village square. Among them rode a knight of great renown, his armor shining and his sword gleaming at his side. The villagers gathered in awe, and the knight, with a voice that echoed authority, called for volunteers to join the king's army. A shadow had fallen over the land. A ruthless warlord threatened the peace of the realm, and all able-bodied men were needed. Thomas felt a stirring in his chest, a strange mix of fear and fascination. The idea of leaving his village terrified him, but something deeper, a yearning he could not name, compelled him forward. That night, by the flickering light of a lone candle, Thomas made his decision. He would leave behind the only life he had ever known and answer the call. The journey to the capital was long and arduous. The city, when he arrived, was a world apart from the quiet lanes of his home. There, Thomas was just another face among thousands, a bumpkin mocked for his rough accent and clumsy manners. The other recruits laughed at his homespun clothes and awkward gait, but Thomas bore their jeers in silence, determined to prove himself. Training began at dawn and ended long after the sun had set. The sword felt heavy and unwieldy in Thomas's hands at first, a far cry from the tools of the farm. His instructors were harsh, their words biting and their expectations high. Many nights, Thomas's muscles ached and his spirit wavered. But the same perseverance that had carried him through countless harvests now served him well. Day after day, he practiced, swinging, parrying, blocking, until the movements became second nature. He watched the knights, their graceful forms and swift strikes, and mimicked their every move. When others rested, Thomas trained. He remembered the words of his father: "The land rewards those who do not give up." Slowly, the jeers faded, replaced by nods of respect. The clumsy bumpkin was becoming something more. One morning, as the mist lifted from the training grounds, the knight who had first ridden into Thomas's village called for a demonstration. Each recruit was to face an opponent in single combat. When Thomas's turn came, he stepped forward, his heart pounding. His opponent was a seasoned squire, quick on his feet and confident. The crowd expected an easy victory for the squire, but Thomas fought with a determination born of years of hard labor and quiet endurance. He moved with surprising agility, his strikes precise and powerful. The duel was fierce, and in the end, Thomas emerged victorious. The knight nodded in approval, and the crowd, once dismissive, now cheered him on. From that day forward, Thomas's reputation grew. He was no longer seen as a simple country boy, but as a formidable swordsman in his own right. He took every opportunity to learn, studying not just the art of the sword, but also the strategies of battle and the code of honor that defined true knights. He listened to tales of old, gleaning wisdom from stories of valor and sacrifice. When the time came to face the warlord's forces, Thomas stood at the front lines, his sword gleaming in the sunlight. The battle was fierce, and many brave men fell. But Thomas fought with a courage that inspired those around him. He remembered the fields of his youth, the sweat and toil, the quiet strength of his family, and he pressed on. His skill with the blade turned the tide of battle, and his unwavering resolve rallied his comrades. In the aftermath, as the smoke cleared and the sun rose on a hard-won victory, Thomas was hailed as a hero. The king himself bestowed upon him the title of Master Swordsman, and the villagers who had once mocked him now spoke his name with pride. Yet for all his honors, Thomas remained humble. He returned to his village, his heart forever changed, but his roots still deep in the earth. He taught the children the art of the sword, not as a path to glory, but as a lesson in perseverance, discipline, and the quiet strength that comes from never giving up. The story of Thomas, the country bumpkin who became a master swordsman, lives on in the hearts of those who dare to dream beyond their beginnings. It is a tale of transformation, of the courage to step into the unknown, and the unbreakable spirit that turns ordinary lives into extraordinary legends. In every field, in every village, and in every heart, Thomas's journey is a reminder that greatness often begins in the most humble of places.